Okay, everybody, welcome to April's inbound lunch bunch. Wow, I've been doing email too much today. So I'm Suzanne Carowin. I'm at the CMO of HighRoad Solution. And again, this series is all about really speaking specifically to the movement of inbound, which focuses on lead generation. And it focuses on a concept, instead of us constantly pushing out, in the association's case, usually email, to do to generate sales, looking at other alternative ways that we can actually, in our case, grow. And so that's the impetus of the series, which we started. Actually, we're celebrating a year plus of now doing this, and so it's great to be back and doing this month. A couple of housekeeping items today. Just knowing that all of our sessions are online. They're free of charge. You can go on there and look at past episodes, etc. Throughout the year, we try to get progressively more sophisticated, progressively more advanced in the topics that we're covering. And so since we're now at the start of kind of a new year of this, today we're going to kind of do a reset. And for many new people who are new to inbound, we're going to do kind of a reset about what we're doing, what is the movement, why is it different, what the heck does it have to do with marketing automation that everybody's talking about now, etc. And so it's a good time to really kind of come back to some basics and talk about using marketing automation to grow from an inbound methodology perspective. So from a housekeeping standpoint, again, here's all the links for our past resources that we have online. You can peruse and use as you'd like. And we also have a whole section which we call toolkits, and we put this out on a monthly basis. These are all kind of interactive toolkits that, again, have varying levels of sophistication that can be used to help you and your association, organization, your department, etc., pique your interest and get you thinking, so you can say, okay, is this something that we can start incorporating? As one of the pieces that we hear all the time in our association industry, that associations are increasingly trying to become more data-driven and more information management decision-driven. These toolkits help as a good framework and a nice set of resources, so you can not have to create stuff from scratch, right? You can look at some models out there and be able to say, how can we leverage this from what other organizations are doing, what best practices have been established, typically in the for-profit space, which tends to be more ahead of the association market in terms of, certainly in the marketing automation world. How can we leverage some of those tools and incorporate it into our own organizational practices to make it something that is going to be really strategically helpful to us? And then what we do is we provide the toolkit. Again, typically an interactive kind of Excel workbook, so you can actually plug in formulas and things like that. And then the other piece is we always have or we started somewhat last year, we started actually doing a webinar to match up with the toolkit to help teach you how to use it and how to associationize it yourself. So it was based on feedback that we received, saying, hey, we love the toolkit, not totally sure how to use it. Can you walk us through it? And so that's what those toolkits are all about. If I, for some reason, should suddenly drop off the call, if I have internet issues or something, hang tight, I'll dial back in, and feel free to post any questions on the chat window, or you can also always send those to us here at HighRoad, either myself personally, or you can send them to marketing@highroadsolution.com or info@highroadsolution.com, and we would love your feedback. Of course, you're going to get an email afterwards with all of the slides and the recording, as well as an evaluation, and we ask that you fill that out. We would be most appreciative, because we really do read all those, and we really do craft our program based on that. And we're happy also to provide all the CAE credits and any notes that you might need on those pieces as well, even though it's self-recorded. We have a bunch of people who ask us, can you kind of verify this for us? And of course, we can do that. Okay, so for today's topic, we're talking about using marketing automation to grow. And so the first thing I want to do is start talking about marketing automation and this idea that we're on inbound lunch bunch, right? So why is it inbound, and how does that have to deal with marketing automation? I'm going to try to talk about the two definitions in context as we go. So one thing that's really happening in our market, which is not atypical, is that there's a lot of confusion on these definitions of what these things are. Is marketing automation a thing? Is inbound a thing? Or is it a technology? Is it something we can buy? Like, can I buy inbound? I've had people call me and say, I'm ready to buy inbound. So just to get all those kinds of things in their right bucket. Inbound is a methodology. It's a methodology of how to generate leads and turn them into clients or customers or members or donors or registrants, whatever you want to call the people who are providing money to you, some sort of currency in exchange for some sort of program or service or product you're offering. That's inbound. Inbound's a methodology of how to do that piece, and typically is in reference to doing that from a digital standpoint, right? So that inbound methodology is about how we can attract people, entice them, make them aware, and turn them into ultimately some sort of fee-based customer, where they have some sort of true conversion or commitment to us as a brand entity. Marketing automation is a set of software platform products, right? That's what marketing automation is. It's not a methodology. There's a methodology of, again, inbound, but marketing automation itself is not a methodology. It's a category of software products, right? And it's important, especially if you want to go out into other parts of the world, that you've got the definitions kind of correct in your head and your vernacular, so you're talking from an educated standpoint, right? So marketing automation, therefore, is a set of software products that is meant, in true marketing automation, these software platforms are meant to really do two things. First and foremost, they're meant to gain new customers. How do I create funnels to pull people that we don't know, are an anonymous visitor, into a state of where we know them, and then pull them through some sort of process where we're measuring it all the way to turn them into a customer, and we can clearly identify the lead source that they came from and their path of how it is that they became a customer. A marketing automation platform, that is its DNA. That's what it's there to do, okay? It is not a glorified email marketing program, okay? Marketing automation is not, I'm going to set up a set of recurring emails that are for my birthday or anniversary. That's not a marketing automation platform. A marketing automation platform is focused in on sales. That's really the end product. It's using content, might be including email, but it's using content as a way to measure, start to finish, the cost. How do I compare what I put in for a campaign, what it cost me to develop a lead, what are all the steps it took me to develop that lead and turn that lead into a customer. That's true marketing automation platform. That's the point of it, okay? The second part of true marketing automation is the same process of pulling now someone who's already a customer and pulling them through some sort of retention or upsell funnel to be able to increase my number of repeat sales, okay? So how do I take a member from year 1 to year 2 and ensure at the highest probability that they're going to renew? How do I take an event registrant who's registered in the past and see if I can't increase that registration and maybe turn that registration into a higher value registration, or move them up a member category? Those types of an idea, right? Go from a 1 webinar participant to a 3-pack webinar participant. How do I focus again on the upsell kind of piece of that? Okay, upsell or cross-sell. And that's the other aspect of true marketing automation platforms, okay? And you can use inbound really for both, but inbound oftentimes is really focused in on growth, meaning new sales. So the point where we're going with here is we need to help the associations develop. We're always thinking in 2 ways across these things. And we want to make sure that when we're looking for these tools, we're understanding these marketing automation platforms, we're thinking about our own campaigns we too need to structure our thinking in 2 ways. 1, how do we grow revenue? 2, how do we gain sight to grow more revenue, okay? And grow revenue is top line growth, the first piece of that, right? How do we get new revenue that we haven't had before? How do we get those new millennial members? How do we get someone who's never participated in one of our conferences, who we don't know now, to know us and to participate in the conference or our certification program, etc. Okay, we're always thinking in those two ways. And then the second part is once we have them, how do we actually enable us to generate more revenue from that group of people? Okay, those are two separate conversations, two separate strategies, two separate everything. Okay, should be different funnels, different campaigns, different probably spends on those, etc., and a different understanding of the metrics that we're looking and how we're doing that. But even right there, I'd say that for many organizations that we go and we sit down with, we're already right back into the retention conversation, right? We're so back into the retention conversation of like, okay, well, we need to send out newsletter, and that's great. We can always grow more, but I just want to make the distinction that there's two pieces we need to understand when we're talking about this kind of revenue equation of marketing. There's how do we make more money and do a better job with those people we already have, right? And most associations, they're sitting on a gold mine, and there is absolutely more growth. There's more land in it. They've landed, they haven't expanded. A lot of times with the members they have. That's one bucket. The second bucket is how do we get new people that we haven't known before? And that's the focus on today, is really top line growth using inbound for top line growth. And so that's what we want to talk about. So we're going to focus in on that one, focus on gaining new customers, and we're going to put the other one on the retention and the upsell growth into a different conversation entirely. Okay, so right now what we want to focus in on is this conclusion. So if we need to grow, if we need more top line revenue, and we need, let's say, more, and you fill in the blank, more, we need new members, right? We have too many members retiring, we're in a downward shift. We need new members. We need new people coming to our conference. We need new people enrolled in our certification program. We need new people signing up for our job board. We need new people buying our programs or publications, etc. Any of the products, our insurance products, whatever these products are that we have. If we need to do that and grow, therefore, it seems that it does correlate, we need to gain new customers. And so then the whole question becomes, how do we get new customers? And I know, and again, fill in customer for whatever piece of it that you want to look at. And usually that's dependent on the department and maybe the product and service that you're trying to put out there. So again, fill that in to be, again, members, donors, registrants, attendees, certificates, whatever that case might be. But overall, let's just bucketize them into one name of customer. How do we do it? And what's interesting about this is right where the inbound conversation should start. And what's interesting about that is what I find is that this is probably the first kind of bullet point that goes over into the almighty flip chart parking lot kind of flip chart, and people say we'll get to it later because we go right back to what we know, which is our membership. We go right back to, well, let's just keep sending emails to the same people we've already known and try to generate more revenue, which is a great idea. Nothing wrong with that because that has the highest probability of getting us revenue, okay? But it's not truly, new, out of nowhere kind of new revenue, right? We're really doing, how can we either keep our recurring base going, or how can we do some kind of upsell, cross-sell, okay? And if you had to look from the health of the organization, we absolutely want a healthy recurring base of money, of revenue, but we also do need new, right? There's new. We have to put value and time and effort into thinking about this new equation. I was just out working with an organization, and they're looking at putting in a new content management system, and they asked me to come talk to their executive team to get them into the right digital mindset framework, right? So before they get all into the features and functions and buttons and talking about fighting it out over who gets to be on the homepage of the website, on and on and on, it was like, let's step back, very smart, let's step back and make sure that everybody's coming from this digital mindset of what it is we're trying to do. And when I came and we started talking, one of the recommendations I made to them is make sure you separate out the conversation of using a website for inbound growth strategy versus using a website for your current members who are going to log in and use it for, let's say, self-service or information kind of acquisition, or self-service again to the information that the organization has. These are two very different website strategies. Now, ostensibly, they need to have both of them into one website that they're going to produce. But we need to recognize these are two separate kind of pieces. And I would say the same thing. You got to carve out time, which is in addition to everything else you're already doing, focused in on members, et cetera, and start saying to yourself, how are we, our organization, going to utilize this inbound strategy or methodology for ourselves to grow? Okay, and this is like probably the number one reason that organizations often hire us here at HighRoad, is to help them kind of think through those pieces and help them drive to fruition this new strategy and new, how are we actually going to execute on growth? How will we do that? Now, clearly we do a lot of retention work too, and making for much better member experiences, but we also, have a special kind of specialty in this kind of growth part of the equation. So I would actually recommend writing this up and putting it around the office, putting on the bathroom mirrors, getting people thinking, because they have to think about how do we grow new customers, new customers, because the current stuff, the current members, the current conference, the current people that are coming back that you hear from all the time, they will absorb all of your time and effort and leave like no room at all. Like you got the last 10 minutes of a meeting to talk to this question. And this one is really a question that we need to answer sooner rather than later, especially as we have such demographic shift in most of the industries. We need to focus in on how do we go get new and develop it as a dialogue that we're consistently having within our own organizations. So we can't talk about new without bringing in the idea of funnels. And funnels are very paramount to an inbound strategy, because the whole idea is that we are trying to go from people that don't know us at all, which are called anonymous users, or anonymous visitors. We're trying to go from people who have no idea who we are whatsoever. They were just shopping along their way out there in Amazon, or they're out on the web doing something typically. And they were trying to go from that to someone who knows us, and then someone who's interested in buying from us, and then someone who's actually considering buying from us, and then somebody who actually says, yes, I want to be with you. Okay? And that whole pathway, that whole journey is called the buyer's journey. That whole pathway you're seeing right here on your screen, if you look up, that funnel, right, it's called it's a inbound funnel, right? It's a sales funnel. There's a lot of words, opportunity funnel. There's a lot of words for what it is. It's a funnel. Put whatever you want in front of it. It's a funnel. So ideally, you've got to get in your mind this abstract concept that the reason we're doing all of these pieces, and by the way, inbound, digital marketing as a whole, utilizing a marketing automation platform, one of the obstacles that organizations sometimes run into is that it moves into a very abstract concept, right? And you have to start really thinking abstractly in the digital world about how these pieces all fit together. And to me, most of us are visual. It really helps to have more and more diagrams to help you. And a funnel, literally drawing this on your whiteboard using these types of materials, helps to visualize what the heck you're doing. Like, how does a Google AdWord have to do with this funnel? How do I make the connection, right? How do I make the connection? I'm looking at the funnel and I'm talking about buying a radio ad, or I'm talking about putting up a billboard, or I'm talking about buying a TV ad or a print ad, or doing direct mail, or putting something on Facebook. How do I translate those things to this? And that ability to make that connection is paramount to moving into kind of inbound, right? So we're always thinking, we have this mental model of this funnel in our head. And what we're trying to do is very simple. Simple. Look how simple it is. I'm over here on the left side. I've got people I don't know. I'm trying to attract them. And then I want them to, they don't know me, and I wanted them to come in at the top of that funnel of awareness. So I'm moving from them having no idea who I am to gaining awareness, and then I'm moving them down to a tighter and tighter and tighter funnel until they drop out the bottom really as customers. That's really what we're trying to do. So every time we design a campaign, every time we're talking internally to our other colleagues, we're thinking about how are we going to, like, let's say the classic is it's a centralized marketing department, and you've got a colleague and they're over in the events department or publications department, or it's whatever conference department, and they've got a new kind of product or concept, and they're like, hey, we want to bring this thing to market, we're ready to launch this, right? And they're telling you already the tactics that they want you to take, because that's what they've always done. Maybe like, let's send an email, let's do, like, what are you going to do for me, etc. And you're sitting here trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to do this? And you need to instantly say, hold on, we need to think in two ways. How do we take this new product or service and sell it back into a group of people we know, which is more of an upsell, cross-sell kind of campaign. At the same time, we need to carve out time and then say, okay, hold on, how do we go get new people who don't even know that they need this product, right? They don't even know that they need it. How can we do it, right? And then we start mentally modeling in our head, thinking about, okay, remember that funnel. We have to first step to move them down the buyer's journey is we have to be able to create awareness for the product. We got to get in front of a target market, right? And that's what you're seeing over here on the right-hand side. So we can't just put it out in front of everyone, because it would be meaningless to no one, which means we first and foremost have to figure out, how can I go get this target market? How do I get my new product or service in front of them to create awareness? And then what I want to do ultimately from an inbound perspective is I want to measure them every step of the way. And I want to find out, okay, who was aware, who wasn't? How did I move from awareness to interest? Who didn't, right? Who moved from interest to decision? Who didn't? Who took action? Who didn't? What can we do as the association to make sure that I'm doing everything we can to see how long it takes people to fall through this funnel, right? And the reason that we like digital is because we can measure each piece of that, and we can find out, one, how long it takes, two, where the drop-off points are, three, how much it cost us, right? And four, if it works for some people, where can we go get and continue to hone our target so we're getting more and more accurate in who we're going after, okay? That's this whole concept of funnel, right? So the challenge, again, to put it into a nutshell, is how do we get in front of new people who are in our target market for our product or service, okay? And it should probably be particular to that, but who don't know us. And we can't go by a list. We cannot go by, and specifically an email list. How do we work in this world now? How do we do it? We can still buy direct mail lists, but how do we do this one? And typically, you're doing this on, you've got champagne dreams on a beer budget. So how are we going to do this as an association to be able to make this kind of magic happen? This is challenging. It's daunting. Again, I would probably put this one, print it out, and put it again all over the office and get people to get really focused in on the difficulty of this challenge, of this question. For many of us, it's so uncomfortable because the answer is, I don't know. I don't know. And that's why inbound is on the rise, because inbound answers this kind of question about how can we do this, right? How can we do this most cost effectively? How can we do this with the greatest accuracy? How can we do this in some sort of measurable way that we're not guessing? So the nice thing about digital is that while it's uncomfortable to many of us because it is not the traditional way we've done things, it also becomes very comfortable quickly because there's no guessing involved, right? Every step of the way I can measure, and that's something we didn't have before, right? That type of transparency and insight is something that we were, again, merely guessing, right? We were kind of just throwing stuff out there to the world and hoping that it worked out. But this is the challenge, and this is what inbound attempts to solve, okay? And this is kind of the way that we're looking at it. I found this this kind of nice image here, illustration, so if you want to look up on this one, because it puts a nice way of saying why also content marketing is also on the rise. So the whole point of content marketing is I'm going to use content as bait, if you will. I'm fishing for new customers. And what I want to do is I want to figure out how I can use the right content And with digital techniques, right, with knowing how to employ digital, I'm going to put it in the right locations where, right, the type of fish that I'm trying to fish for exists already. I don't have to make it up from scratch. I just need to do some good market research, and I need to figure out how I can, number one, get found, okay? And this is now, we're looking, if you notice, we're looking at the funnel. Same funnel, it's just on its sides. There you go. So there's the funnel. Here's just it on its side. So it's a nice way to say, we've got a big opening, right? We've got a lot of throughput here at the top, and then we're trying to, again, push them, because we know, wouldn't it be nice if, like, we attracted 1,000 people and all 1,000 people became customers? I mean, that would be great. But unfortunately, right, that's probably not the accurate. And again, I'm using that word probability, right? Because now we're not communicating, we're marketing. And we're in a social science that's based on probability, okay? So we're looking at marketing, we're looking at probability-based techniques. So what I'm doing is I'm going to do everything in my power to increase the probability that I'm going to attract the right people. And the first thing I'm going to do is get into the right places where they are, the people that I think, and I'm going to take an educated guess, a hypothesize. Here's where I think the type of, what have you, new prospective members exist. And these people don't know us, but I'm going to identify those channels. Okay, and so from those channels, this whole approach here of putting content out into these channels to get found is probably the area that associations need the most help with. It's not something that they've been doing for years and years and years, right? What associations are really good at and still trying to get hugely improved, and that's why so much email automation is out there, is they're experts at trying to communicate with their own members, and they want to get better and better at that because that's important for the retention side, which is extremely important. But they also need to do that part. At the same time, they need to work on this get found column, okay? And this whole wide part at the top of the funnel, which is on its side right here, is called the top of the funnel, right? It's the big part of the funnel. And so if you're in inbound marketing, you shorten that to be top of the funnel, T-O, funnel, F-U, tofu, okay? And you're looking at, what are we doing for tofu? What are we doing out there to attract people that don't know us, to bring them into, we got to first get them into the funnel. So we need to get out there, and we need to have these kind of beacons out there to say, hello, we're out here. This is a service or product that you might be interested in. And so that's why you have all these different channels, right? So you have social media as different channels. You have search engines as channels. You have sign up for my free newsletter, right? Those types of things, free offers, bringing them onto online tools where you can exchange for an email, landing pages where you have a form to collect an email. That's why you have blogs often, because they're search engine friendly. You're trying to do these types of things on paid keywords, paid Instagram, paid Twitter cards, paid LinkedIn ads, writing stuff for LinkedIn, getting out in front of people and channels where the people that are likely to buy your product exist is the whole first step. That's the whole first step of inbound. And like I was saying, most associations have not had to be in this growth mode for quite a few years, right? They haven't had to do it. This is new. The last time they did this, these tools did not exist. These channels did not exist, right? And also, the last time they had to grow like this, the people they were going after are not the same people of today's world, right? So, I mean, everything's changed. It's all, for most of us, greenfield opportunity. So we have to figure out how to get found. And like I said, that's top of the funnel or tofu. So we're going to use these different channels to try to attract people that don't know us and get them to come start into our funnel, okay? So we're going to use these kind of methods, and we're going to look at some ideas and examples. It's much easier to show examples of the flow than it is to look at this. But I thought this is such a nice image and way to look at it. It's a great way to see how these things fit together. Let's say that we got a bite. They saw something, they saw we posted something on Twitter. We used a hashtag that got in front of this new person that didn't know us, and they're like, gosh, yeah, maybe the certification is right for me. I should figure it out. And they click on my tweet, and they come back to something. And that's one of the big questions. They come back to something. Now we're moving into what's called the middle of the funnel. and middle and funnel, and it becomes, we get rid of the I and it becomes MO and it becomes MOFU. Okay, so the middle of the funnel is called MOFU. So right there, we have now gotten somebody out, typically from out in some sort of, you know, nether region of digital. So social media or pay-per-click campaigns out in search, etc. And we're now bringing them closer into our organization. Typically, you get here, this piece of it to help them convert, because that's what we're trying to do, is you're typically bringing them to a landing page. You're bringing them to some sort of a tool that you have out there, and you're giving something in exchange, right? This is our value exchange part of the equation. And that is considered a conversion for new growth, okay? The conversion, you know, is not them becoming a customer. That's not the conversion we're looking for. In this case of new growth, for first step of conversion we're looking for is they become known to us, okay? Because before here, they were just some unknown person clicking on some tweet. We bring them to a landing page, and the first measurement of conversion we're trying to figure out is, will they fill out the form? Will they purposely, conscientiously, knowingly provide us with their email address, right? Which is the key to unlocking personal relationships or personal experiences within digital, is the email address. It is what's called the driver's license of the digital, you know, of the digital world. So I'm trying to attract them with content to provide me with their email address so that I can provide them with additional value. But the key is, once I've got that email address, I now have permission, because remember, I didn't buy their email address and start spamming them. They knowingly, conscientiously, wholeheartedly said, here's my email address, because I understand you're going to treat me with respect and you're going to provide me with other content, etc. That's going to be of value. Or at least that's the promise you're making them, right? And you need to deliver on that promise, especially as an association. That is crucial to the authenticity of your brand in today's world, okay? That it's understood, especially the younger you go down in the generations, that that email address is kind of sacred. It's like giving me my cell phone number. It's some sacred information about me, and you're going to treat it accordingly, okay? So you're going to start to nurture me, is what it's called, with relevant content, and we're going to try to develop this relationship. We're going to develop a digital relationship where we're in some sort of digital dialogue, right? And I'm not going to jump on them too soon. I'm not going to sit there and the first thing, and they filled out my my landing page, the first thing I'm going to send them is an email saying, do you want to be a member, right? It's a little soon, okay? You don't want to go 0 to 60. We have to date a while. You don't want, it comes off as very pressurized. You don't want to come out like, do you want to marry me? And it's our first date. We have to get to know each other. And we want to do this, and it's sometimes painful for an association because they want to jump to like, why can't we just throw on a button that says, want to become a member now, right? And it's because it's the culture now of digital. It's the culture of how we go about doing these things. And we need to understand, again, it depends on the target market. But as a whole, we need to understand how we're going to do this in kind of the right cadence, the right voice, the right approach, okay? So in this conversion stage, we, again, are doing this value exchange. And so we as the association need to start thinking about, right, what kind of content do we have? What do we have to get found? What do we have to help convert? Now, that's a big piece right there. And this is why it needs to be a separate conversation. For many associations, the really good content they have is behind the members-only login. And that becomes a critical conversation to have internally, because we're in, again, the digital culture. What we're used to doing now as a consumer is we're far more into that. We're not going to just buy because you tell us to buy, right? I'm not going to give you my money and then find out that what you're going to deliver to me is not what I expected, okay? So we need to be able to probably open up some of that content or create new content so that we can be able to prove that we are the American Academy of XYZ, and this is the value we provide to members, right? This is what we can promise you. We probably need to do that in some format. Now, for many of us, this shouldn't be a a new concept because we've been doing it for years at chapter events, at local events, right? Come to us and meet us. You know, if you're new, you can come free for the first time or whatever. Get a taste of us, get to know us, right? See what we're about, see how the meeting works. That type of concept is very, you know, that's nothing new about that. It's just how do we translate that on the digital realm is the new conversation. But same exact idea. People need to taste test before they're willing to commit, okay? Their time to commitment is much longer now. We have a much more skeptical audience. We have audiences that look now to say, I need word of mouth. I need to hear it from a friend that this is something that really is of value. You can't just push it with your brand and say, that's who we are. You know, now, of course, that depends. If you have total market power, you have no competition, and you're the only game in town, and they have to come to you for their certification or something like that in order for them to have a career, then this is probably not relevant, you know, to be honest, because you're not in a competitive market. You don't need to attract, you don't have alternatives. However, if you're an association, you're watching the rise of for-profit companies who are coming after your same customers with other or potential customers with equivalent products or services or education, it's something you probably really need to look at and consider. So that's that kind of middle part of the funnel. Again, MOFU, the conversion part. And then the bottom, or bottom, B-O, funnel, F-U, BOFU, the bottom part of the funnel is when it actually has the piece where it turns into an actual customer and sales, right? A sale has happened, revenue has been received, or we're starting to look at it on the P&L. We're starting to look at the revenue, and now we're into the next part of the funnel, which is how do you take now a customer and grow them into really an evangelist, right? How do you grow them into a repeat customer? How do you grow that lifetime value? That's when lifetime value comes in. But we have to make them a customer before we can talk about lifetime value. So that's kind of the full funnel. That's a critical piece. That's why we spent so much time on it, on talking about this for inbound marketing. Because everything we do from here on out, we've got to have this in our head. This has got to be the model. We draw it on the board. We draw it on paper. We look at it on our desktop, whatever. We're always thinking about this type of funnel. That's very different than somebody says, we've got a new conference, and the first thing I say is, we'll do a 3-series piece of email, and then we'll, you know, do save the date, early bird, registration, etc. Okay, that's all tactics. None of that has any strategy for kind of inbound, you know, how we're going to push through the funnel. It's one of the biggest things you see from going from tactics to strategic is understanding of how the content marketing works with the funnel that turns into opportunity management and sales, right? And revenue, and go into the P&L. So our checklist really for this lead gen part about how do we attract, how do we go back to that TOFU, the top of the funnel, is we have to look at all these different ways that we would get in front of people who don't know us. Because remember, we can't go by an email list. So what are all the other options we have out there to get in front of people who don't know us from Adam, and we need to get in front of them and make them aware. And we don't want to just talk to anybody. We're not going to Times Square and just handing out flyers. We want to get in front of people who already, we think there's a probability they want to hear from us, right? So what can we do? Well, there's a plethora of things we can do. That's why all of these channels exist, right? That's why you should be doing social media, okay? Not because, you know, you should have icons on your website, and you should find not just all social channels, but the ones that make sense for your target market, right? But so there's many, 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 many options, so many, as a matter of fact, more than most associations have any idea, that we have a ton of tools to choose from, again, which is another reason why a lot of associations come to HighRoad, is because we help them navigate through this, all this options out there, and we just do it with you, for you, right? Help you build capacity and then get you the results. So the checklist for lead gen goes on and on, but it could be blogs and searches and social media and pay-per-click campaigns, whether that's AdWords or Bing or you name it. Direct mail is still a big one. That's, you can buy direct mail lists and mail them. It's on the rise, increasingly popular. What about radio ads, TV ads, billboards? You know, again, all sorts of different ways that you might be doing this, you know, being able to get in front of people who didn't know you. Print ads, go on and on and on, okay? So we need a way to use all these, these things, and it can be digital, it can be, or traditional kinds of means, right? But the big thing here is that the reason that most organizations ultimately decide to use things like search and social and pay-per-click and blogs is because it's much lower cost than going out and buying print ads. Okay, so they're always looking for biggest bang for your buck. It's hard to beat the cost of digital. It's really hard. And most organizations are still spending, if they move their budget from traditional types of means of maybe live events and printing and direct mail, and they move more of it to digital, they would probably be amazed at the differences in results that they get. Okay, but again, for most organizations, new. It's a different way to budget. They're not sure. The CFO doesn't know what you're talking about, whatever the case might be. So we can help you with that too. But we need to have a big checklist, and we're going to be able to start to utilize this inbound methodology. Okay, so the new inbound methodology, to be successful in it, I've given you a list of requirements of what do you need to do it well. First and foremost, you need discipline. You need strong discipline. You need to be able to probably pitch the case, because look at the things I just told you about. You need a budget for advertising spend. When we do our State of Digital Marketing and Associations report, which, by the way, the 2017, this next one comes out in 2 weeks at the ASE Membership and Marketing Conference, you will see that it's abysmally small. The budget for advertising, for digital advertising, and how many organizations are partaking in that is abysmally small. So we got to have that. So we need to have the discipline to say we got to get the budget and we got to stick with it. We need compelling messages, right? We need great creative. And again, it's got to be targeted to the market. So it can't be this generic all things to all people with one image that's never going to offend anybody. We have to be compelling, because we're trying to get in front of people who don't know us. So if we just look like really vanilla, generic, right? They're going to pass us by and nothing's going to pop for them. So I have to have some sort of specific pain point or some specific remedy in my creative that's going to get them to take notice and get them to click. That's kind of the big piece there. Having said that, I need some of that knowledge of our digital channels. Where am I going to put this stuff? I need to know how to measure it when we have impressions, like what the heck do I do with that? And what does that mean? And again, we need to know how this fits in with this whole kind of funnel piece of it, right? So let's say I put out I buy some Google AdWords and somebody clicks. Now what? Where did it go to? What does it mean? Will they return? What do we now do with it? How do we move them again all the way through that tofu to mofu to bofu? Okay, that whole thing, this whole inbound, again, tends to be something that is something fairly new to organizations, and it's a key piece for why organizations work with an agency, right? So for many of you out there, maybe you say, oh, this sounds scary. Is it? No, this isn't scary. None of this is scary. Most organizations are doing all of these pieces, but they're doing it piecemeal. It's not in an integrated format, right? And it's not something that we can easily measure, okay? That's the big piece of it. So the reason that you have a marketing automation platform is to be able to manage this process. That's why you have it, because you need one way so you don't drive yourself crazy in figuring out how can I be able to see all the banner ads that I put out there, or social media, or my web advertising, or these things, and how do I be able to measure what those things are doing and how it flows through my funnel? How can I do that, right? And I can do that in a very controlled, small way for a spend to try it out, to see if we can do it, to see what we get. So this is like new, I didn't know. And that's because digital is so flexible in all of the spend. It doesn't have to be the same like how we bought, I don't know, a platform years ago. We could take $100 and put it into a Facebook campaign today and see what we get, right? There's so many different ways that we can't keep treating this like it's this big capital expenditure that we're going to have to put an RFP out to get going on, okay? Because if we do it that way, we're never going to get there. And at the end of the day, revenue solves everything. Revenue solves everything. So if we can just get going on a pilot program, why not prove that it works? And then that makes everything go a lot faster, okay? So what we would say is we are in the enablement business. We're in the happiness business. Let's get started today in very small ways to be able to get some of this data in to see how it works, okay? Everything can be measured. That's the beauty of it. Like I said, I can take very small risks, if you will, of using money and put it out there and see if we can generate leads. As a matter of fact, there's no reason you can't start with, you know, almost a zero spend and just put $100 in advertising, whatever, and see what we can get. Okay, think about a pilot program as you're going through this and learning how to apply inbound methodology to a marketing automation platform. Okay, so something to think about. It's different nowadays. Okay, so let's start looking at examples so we get some real stuff that we can sink our teeth into as to how do organizations do this. So it's always good to start with, of course, for-profits, because they've been doing this now, you know, usually 7 to 10 years, and we can get great models off of them and be able to see, okay, how can we, you know, leverage what we're seeing in a way, and do we see any way that we could take the same concept and apply it to our association? Okay, so I'm going to start with a big payroll solution company. Many of your organizations might use it for your payroll processing, ADP. So I was coming through here, and I thought I would go ahead and find out how ADP generates new leads for their services. Okay, so I went into Google and I typed in ADP white papers, because I know that white papers are a key way that software companies in the big software market, that's a key way that they do two things: educate potential customers about their products. Two, it's a key way that they generate leads. So I went ahead and I put in what's called a long tail keyword, more than one word, right? ADP white papers, and I went and I said, boom, what do I have? And I look at my results already, and this is very interesting. I've got some case studies, infographics, white papers, very smart. Everybody loves case studies and infographics. I've got some downloadable resources as well, and I have an actual pay-per-click ad, okay? And so I see that that's the first thing, of course, that Google is going to pop up in the top, and I see I get 2 months of free payroll. Well, you know what? I'm game. Like, I know that you're trying to sell to me. That's another kind of critical thing in this inbound world. We are not afraid to be able to say to the world, hey, look, we are trying to generate new members. We're trying to, in the business of generating new webinar participants. And we're saying it, we're not trying to hoodwink anybody. Here's what we've got. If you're a match, great. If you're not, that's okay. Have a great day. Go do you. But if you want to become the best you, our association has the best people in the business. We have the best education in the business, okay? But we can't we've been, the culture of the associations has been very didn't want to talk about the actual sales process and being kind of overt about the fact that we're in business to do these kinds of things and make you a better professional, right? Yet at the same time, we've been incredibly obnoxious about do you want to join? Do you want to join? Do you want to join? Do you want to register? Do you want to register? So we're kind of at this juxtaposition from a cultural standpoint of trying to kind of rectify all that and get okay with sending out emails that are just about products and services for sale and separating that out maybe from member news. We've been kind of trying to, hide that fact that we're trying to sell products and services. But this next generation of customers, et cetera, as you kind of change out, it's a different appetite for that. And what you'll see as an appetite for consumers as, again, you change generations, is they don't like that messiness. They want you to speak plainly. What are you trying to do? Why are you sending me this email? I want to tell you, I'm going to come get you when I'm ready for a sale, or what have you, right? I'm going to use your digital for me to decide whether I should shop with you. And this is what ADP is doing. If you don't click on my ad, that's fine. But if you are interested in getting 2 months of free payroll, and look, I'm going to do what? Try before I buy. Here we go. Taste test culture. They're leading with it. They're like, here we are. We've got a bunch of white papers. We're exposing ourselves. If you want to try us for 2 months of free payroll, go ahead and click on this. If you don't click on it, that's okay. No problem. This is business, nothing personal. But go ahead and click on it, and we'll find out. So I said, okay, I'm game. I'm interested in 2 months of free payroll. And as soon as I do that, here's what I get. And this is fascinating, because here we go about the funnel, okay? So we're taking us down a funnel right off the bat. They're not dropping me at their landing page of ADP and expecting me to figure it out. This is not a browsing culture anymore. This is a culture now, digitally, with people who have less than 4 seconds of attention. They're instantly segmenting me to say, but they're telling me, how can we customize it for you? And I appreciate that, because I don't have time to just sit there and willy-nilly look about your site. I don't want to do that. You're supposed to know where I came from. Why don't you know I came from Google? Send me to where I am. And they're trying to say, we're trying to get you to where you're trying to go. You tell me this one piece of information. Really easy. It's one click. Okay, which way am I? I'm like, well, I'm 1 to 49. Okay, great. Now they take me to a landing page. And now here I start my process, right? I'm already now in the kind of, I'm moving into, I just went from the top of the funnel and I'm moving into the middle. And they're trying to now kind of come in saying, hey, member special offer, and start your quote. Okay? Right now, they're giving me all these options for how to bring me in. Now, I might abandon ship right here and leave. Okay? And that's okay. But for the people that start the quote, now I'm coming to this. Now I'm at the almighty form. I might get to this point and I might abandon ship. And that's okay too. Right? Of course, we want everybody to fill it out. But what we are studying is who the people are that now filled it out. And bam, we have conversion. Okay? Because as soon as we have that, I can now start to communicate to you with email, probably, maybe with text, on a one-to-one basis. Okay? In this case, they're choosing email. Why? Email's the cheapest. So they're going to use this for me, and I can get your quote. And look what they note. Your privacy is assured. Because for a group of people that are out there who are going to do this, their number one thing is, what are you going to do with my information? Because they're understanding my email is precious, right? And they're telling me your privacy is assured. Okay, I'm going to fill it in. And I'm going to go on with that, my kind of life with that. And I start my relationship with that. And behind the scenes, ADP is measuring every step of the way. Another example, Princeton Review. They sell books about kind of MBA, you know, GMAT prep, et cetera, et cetera. They're putting out there a little quiz format to find out, is an MBA right for you? Okay, this one is so easy for associations to be able to duplicate, you know, make it your own. So they're putting them, you could say, is it, you know, is this certification right for you? Is this conference right for you? Is membership right for you? But the point is, it's interactive. And as soon as I click on, yeah, I'm interested, I could have found that on a website ad. I could have come across that in a variety of different places. And then they're saying, pick a dream job from the list, okay? By the way, notice that they have director of a nonprofit. So as soon as I click on that, it's changing the content that I'm seeing. All right, and of course it's leading me down to basically saying, hey, Princeton Review can sell you a product that's going to help you, you know, get into these dream jobs with X, Y, and Z as the prep book for that particular, you know, degree of study. Okay, but what a great way to do it. They've picked up all this information, and I've given them my address, etc., and I'm now going to be able to go down that funnel. Orbitz has something similar to that idea. They put this out in Valentine's Day. They're basically saying, take a quiz to find out who's a perfect match. They're asking some fun questions, right? Old ball and chain, look at how they're doing it. Definitely a certain target market they're going after. They're not afraid to, by the way, look at that. They're not afraid to offend anybody. And one of the things, how would you describe your partner? And one of the things is the old ball and chain, okay? So using some humor, they're entertaining. Want to get your results, and lo and behold, here's the almighty form. I'm providing my own email address, and boom, we've got conversion, okay? So then they're going through, and of course they're leading me back to them. And I'm not hoodwinked. I know what they're up to. I know the whole thing. So if they say, you know, call me, or then they end up calling me, I'm not going to be surprised in this one bit. Okay. From an association side, same type of thing. We have lead gen, and we need to be able to lead people that didn't know about us and lead them, in this case, into a new conference that's being offered. Okay, so ultimately, I want them to get to my conference microsite. Okay, ultimately, I want them to get there. Now, if I already know them, I'm going to send email and say, here's our Accelerate conference. Go ahead and register. Right? But we need new growth. We need new growth. So what can we do here? Well, in this case, what we decided to do is we set up a bunch of YouTube videos, and we had the speakers provide YouTube videos. Right? We wrote a script. We had them do the script. And everything ends about the same thing about Accelerate. We put some spend behind it on YouTube, right? We have metrics every step of the way for how we can see who's converting through YouTube, because YouTube's going to get us in front of a whole bunch of people, and we can target those ads. So we can do all that, and we can figure out now from that, we're using this as our tofu content to pull them down, and then advertising is helping to pull them down this funnel so that we can pull them into being able to offer the conference to them, right? And we can grow the number of contacts that we have, and we can grow, and of those contacts, we can see how many of those can we convert to actually being conference registrants. All pure new growth. Small spend, right? New conference registrants, being able to then get them even to go there one time, radically increases the probability of getting them to go 2 times, or be able to get into that funnel or that cross-sell, upsell opportunity. We also use, again, digital advertising. We use Twitter cards. We put things onto the blog, and we also did LinkedIn advertising. So we had good banner ads. We had good creative. We were able to get this and highly target it using social channels to do the top of the funnel to attract new people we didn't know. And we loved it because the entire way along the step, we know how much we spent and we know what we got. Okay, so we're using inbound methodologies to create, in this case, new conference registrants. And each step of the way, we know what channel performed, we know what did we spend, we got new people, and of course, all of this ends with them filling out some sort of form. So then we start to know them, and now we can start sending them the routine stuff we do. Okay, here, do you want to thank you for registering, or here's the reason you should register, or top 5 reasons people, top 5 sessions not to miss on the agenda, et cetera, et cetera. And then once they actually register, we can then send them the following engagement types of stuff. Here's the mobile app to download, here's the directory list, here's the sponsors, on and on, here's the know before you go, right? But we've made sure that we've taken the time to have a whole strategy for how to get new people that didn't know us. That's using inbound all the way through, okay? Same type of thing, if doing that as they're coming through, I'm gonna be able to see using now marketing automation who these people are. So as soon as they fill out that form, behind the scenes, the staff is gonna use a marketing automation platform to be able to understand who the heck these people are, who's in the funnel, where they are, how do they interact with us, what were their steps, how long did it go, how much did it cost us? Again, that's the purpose of a marketing automation platform. So here I'm looking at my overall campaign that I ran. Let's say I put out, it was $10,000 I put in the hopper there to market the product or event, etc. And I want to see what did I get out of it. Okay, in this case, it's just all theoretical. I put this out there. I did a bunch of different categories here of where I put and how I got my my sources here for my leads. And then I'm seeing of my whole campaign, I got 23 leads, my cost per lead, how many things fell into the sales funnel that are working opportunities, how many things are now from a standpoint of looking at the revenue and the estimated value of my pipeline. What are my total costs, right? Here we go. So here's what I spent, here's what I got. This idea right here, this is why you buy marketing automation platforms, because it's compiling all of your efforts from inbound, all of your efforts for my upsell, cross-sell into a palatable dashboard that I can understand my combination of what I spent and what I got. That's the purpose of it. That's why you want to get to a marketing automation platform and combine it with an inbound methodology. But remember, they're 2 separate things. I can go buy a marketing automation platform and I can tool around with it, but if I'm not using the right methodology, I'm just going to go and use it the same way I've always used email. Well, you got a pretty expensive email platform, right? So we want to get the word out about how to combine marketing. Definitely, I want you to buy marketing automation platforms. I want you to buy them from me. But I want you also to be able to use the inbound methodology, or at least help us get you to using that in conjunction with this to really amplify your effects and really focus in on that top line growth. So in summary, we want you from a using marketing automation to growth standpoint, using inbound techniques and methodology. The take-home message is there's no reason not to start now, right? Start with understanding what you have. Like I said, 99% of organizations are doing many of these component parts, but they don't have one platform in which to measure all of it, okay? Start with looking and asking the question, how can we actually gain new customers? look at tons of examples, come back, look at our other inbound lunch bunches, come to our webinars, call me up, etc. And then finally, right, look to getting a marketing automation platform to be able to make measurement easy. With that, I'd like to thank everybody for today's inbound lunch bunch, and I look forward to seeing you in future months.